Hello, and thank you for joining me today. Today, I'm going to talk about presenteeism and absenteeism and how to tackle them and boost your workplace health. But first, who am I? My name is Leslie Gadet, and I am a self care strategist working with female entrepreneurs and their teams, helping them to avoid burnout, to be able to work more productively, efficient use of their time, having more quality of life in the workplace as well as outside the workplace so that you have that well-oiled machine. And today, again, I want to dive into the topic around presenteeism and absenteeism because I feel like this is something that is happening more and more as you look out into the world and you start seeing all different types of articles and people talking about this phenomenon that has been happening, that has, it seems, been building even more so since 2020 when we face the pandemic. So today we're going to dive into it. So first of all, what's absenteeism? Absenteeism refers to employees being absent from work without good reason. So this is not just your regular uh, I'm sick. It's people just taking time off because, and it could be stress related, because a lot of the time stress can play a really big part in it, right? So, they would call it, I used to remember when I get really stressed years ago, being in the world of law, that I would say I would take a mental health day. I would call in sick, but for me, it was a mental health day. And so this is what they're referring to, is that people are absent from work without having an actual reason for being away from work, just for the sake of just taking that time off, even maybe even just wanting, they're just lacking that fulfillment. And so they just take the time. So the impact on business is that it can lead to decreased productivity, disrupt workflow, and increase workload for other people in the office, right? For other employees. So, if you have an office and you're super busy, again, I come from the industry of being in law for many years, over 4 decades, and I understand the level of commitment or the level of stress that comes with that job, because a lot of the time, things didn't really happen, or things didn't really start hopping until the afternoon, when the clients would start coming back with questions about contracts or having issues, or coming in with client meetings or last minute things that had to get done. And so if you had someone who was decided that they just didn't want to come into the office that day, and they called in sick, that whatever they were working on has to get done that day. That means it increases the workload for someone else in the office. So according to teamsense.com, absenteeism costs US employers $3,600 per employee per year, hourly, I should say, per employee per year. So that's a lot. And although there are, of course, paid time off and sick leave. That's the normal usually when people are absent from work. That type of if you have a lot of people that work for you, that's a lot of money over time. Other team members, again, have to pick up the slack, right? When an employee is absent. And because of this, they're also reporting that overtime is used to cover 40%, 47% of employee absences. So again, because someone's away, someone else has to work longer hours. And so, of course, then the employer has to, that being you, if you're a business owner, have to pay that employee overtime. So according to SHRM, on top of these direct costs are the hidden cost of absence. So the cost of replacement labor, if someone takes a long period of time away, they take off a few days, um, you know, uh, stress is like it seems to be the number one issue why people are going to for doctors visits. And it's the number one stress. Work related stress is the number one stress for people. And when you factor in that 120,000 people, and I've talked about this in a previous video, 120,000 people die every year in the US from work-related stress. It doesn't, of course, it just leads me to believe that, of course, these issues are real. So the cost of like replacement labor, then the loss of productivity, again, someone's away, other people have to pick up the slack. They're saying that that equals about 3% of annual payroll. And in some industries, the impact can be even much greater. So again, this can result in loss of productivity, loss of revenue, because maybe you just can't meet all of your revenue goals, and so you lose out on some of that revenue because your client either backs out of the deal with you, takes their business elsewhere. You lose clients. So that can happen from just absenteeism, right? Because employees, your team members, you rely on them to show up and be that part of the wheel that they need to be, there, part of the puzzle that they need to be when you are, when you're conducting business every day. So then, of course, you've got what happens then, you have a drop in your employees' morale because, again, people are starting to feel the pressure, the stress. You might even feel the drop in employee engagement, lack of job satisfaction. Of course, that could be one of the reasons why people are taking so much time off. Employee turnover. This is a conversation that I've had with someone that I've been working with now for almost 6 years. One of the things that he had mentioned was, wanting to figure out how to keep his employees because he was finding a lot of turnover. A lot of people were coming and going. Then it could also lead to a hostile work environment, increased call outs for maybe your work performance, maybe it's not where it should be, or it's just because there's a lot of stress going on and your employer, you being the employer, are looking for ways to nitpick at what your employees are doing, or vice versa. They are feeling that they are being picked on. There also could be concern over employee favoritism, which could cause tension between coworkers. If you are putting someone else on a pedestal above your other team members, and you might do it in front of your employees, that could cause tension and disrupt that team dynamic. So how do you combat it? One of the things I believe that has been, I think we were forced to do, was having those flexible work arrangements, right? Since the pandemic, we were forced to, a lot of companies were forced to, if you weren't that brick and mortar that was selling clothing or goods or things like that. If you were service based, a lot of you then moved your businesses online. So your team members, your employees started working from home. And so that was that remote work. And now, as we find ourselves now, we're in year 4 of moving through, post pandemic. We're in year 3 post pandemic, if you will. You are now finding that there's a lot of people, I started seeing articles just in 2021 into 2022 that a lot of people didn't want to go back to that full-time position going into the office, and they were looking for more flexible hours, more flexible work options, like the hybrid options of working part of the time in the office and part of the time time out of the office, that they were able to prove during the pandemic that they were able to do their work. They felt like, okay, why can we not keep this going? This works for me because I have children, for my lifestyle. And again, people are wanting more quality of life. My discussions with the paralegals that I've been supporting, a lot of them have been leaving to go find other jobs like this, where they have that flexibility around their time, whether it's having a full remote job or a hybrid position where they're in part-time and they're out of the office part-time. And so this is something really important for you to take a look at, because if you're finding that, and especially if you work online, of course, I understand that's a different thing. You're fully remote. You have people who work fully remote for you. You could be dealing with something completely different, which we will get into. But if you are a company that has an office setting and you do have people come into the office, this is going to be for you, really, because you're going to find that your employees are probably pushing back, saying, we want more flexibility so that we can have that, that more time, uh, that more quality of life, not only in the office, but outside of the office. Like it actually lends to that quality of life, and that can reduce absenteeism. Now, even incorporating wellness programs like initiating health and wellness can address the root causes of absenteeism. From my research, what I'm finding is that there are health insurance companies that are offering discounts or bundle pricing, meaning when you add a wellness program to the incentives that you provide your team, along with your health insurance plan that you offer, insurance companies are giving giving back to the businesses through discounts or bundle pricing. And this is just one area that I found. I'm currently doing more market research around specific insurance companies and what they're specifically offering when you are bringing in someone like myself, because this is what I do, is I go in and I work with companies to bring that wellness, that holistic approach where wellness is that you have that wellness foundation within your company so that it provides for more quality of life inside the business as well as outside the business. And so I'm looking to see what specifically insurance companies are offering as far as incentives for companies like that, so that they can, so that you can, if that's you, be able to offer a wellness incentive, have wellness incentives when you're hiring people to the people you already currently have, that provides that more quality of life, right? So I'm going to come back at a later live and I'll share my findings. So I will definitely make sure that I come back and share my findings on that once I get all my research together. Now, regular check-ins are important too. Like, managers should regularly check in with their team to identify and address any issues early. This is important because if you're not communicating with your team, they're not communicating with you their needs, right? A lot of the time, I know people will suffer in silence. Maybe this is because they are uncomfortable speaking up and saying how they feel, or maybe they just don't want, they feel like that's just not that doesn't belong to be brought up into an office setting. And so it's really important, I believe, that managers, leaders, team leaders should really check in with their team members so that they can make sure that they're not falling off somewhere. Like, they go radio silence and you don't understand why, and they're missing their deadlines, and you don't know why. And so it's really important that if you start checking in, having that regular communication, that opens up so that they feel confident and comfortable to come to you with what's going on in their lives, so that makes it like easy to understand. And how do we have workarounds? Also, one of the things is I would encourage time off. In other words, normalize in your day, in your business, that personal days for mental health and relaxation are important so that it can prevent burnout. It shouldn't be all about work, 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 right? That whole thing around, you hear people say family first or self-care. Those shouldn't just be slogans that sound good. They should be ways of life that not only we follow in our personal lives, but in our professional lives as well. Quality of life at home is important, but also in the business, because you spend a lot of time with the people that you work with. So encouraging people, even encouraging people during the day to take those breaks. It can't all be about how much work they can, they can, gen, get out, like all of the work that they generate. It can't just be all about being productive and getting all that, all as much work done as they can, meaning so that they're not taking those breaks and they are heading towards burnout. And then you find that absenteeism because they're taking those mental health days because they believe they need them, because they just don't feel motivated. There's a lack of connection to wanting to go to work. And then also recognize your people, like recognition and rewards can go a long way. So implementing a system to recognize, and reward consistent good work, consistent attendance. Bonuses are great. I find that they're really rewarding. But one thing that I really love is when someone comes to me and tells me what a great job that I'm doing. The law firm that I'm currently supporting, the managing partner had left me a message. This was a couple of years ago, but he had left me a message saying that he was extremely happy for the quality of work that I was providing to the firm, and that he was really happy that I was a part of the firm, and supporting them, and that I was doing a great job and keeping their clients happy. So this is something for you to think about. Like, it's not all just about money. Yes, monetary bonuses are great, but when you can tell someone that they're doing a good job, like actually letting them know what they're doing right instead of always focusing on what they're not doing right or doing wrong, if you will, I think that can go a long way when you're doing that. So let's talk about presenteeism. So this occurs when employees are physically present, but they're not fully functioning due to illness, stress, or other factors. So if they're sitting at their desk and they're on their social media, right? A lot of I've worked at different places where people were, if they weren't busy, they were on social media, looking at different, websites, looking at like what different celebrities were doing. So they were they were doing their personal stuff on company time. And I think that it's important that when we are supporting someone, that their time that they pay us to be there is important. So as a team member, it's really important for us to understand that if we're not busy, what's happening, like take a closer look ourselves. But also it's important for the business owner to be like, to have their eye, their finger on the pulse and understand what's going on. The impact is that it can lead to reduced productivity, poor health outcomes, and a negative impact on overall workplace morale. One of the stats I found shocking is this one. According to an article by flamingoapp.com, one study estimates the cost of presenteeism to U.S. businesses at $150 billion per year. The same article indicates that presenteeism costs 2 to 3 times more than providing direct medical care for employees. In other words, insurance premiums and claims by employees. In addition, the same article states that the Journal of American Medical Association found that reduced productivity and performance due to depression may cost employers in the U.S. $35 billion per year, while pain conditions like arthritis, headaches, back problems may come with a cost of $47 billion per year. This is like, when you start looking at these costs that to businesses annually, just in the US alone, that's a lot of money. Now, I think I thought I saw somewhere, and I'm pretty sure this was the number I saw, that it's globally $350 billion with respect to lost productivity that it's costing companies and globally. And so when you think about that, that's a lot of money, and it could be avoided if we start paying attention to what we as a team are doing together. Because even though you might work for someone or someone works for you, you're in it together because you hire them to help you build what you're building. You don't hire them to just sit in the seat and not be productive in helping you. So how do you combat this? Because it's important to combat presenteeism as well, right? So how do you it's learning to cultivate a supportive culture. So fostering an environment where they feel comfortable, taking sick leave when they need to, and not feeling like they have to be in the office when they're sick, or working when they're sick if they're working remotely. But also, I believe we should also be helping them to take care of themselves by taking those necessary breaks, right? Not eating lunch at their desk. I used to, when I worked full time, a lot of the paralegals that I worked alongside were eating at their desk. So they weren't really taking a break. They were on social media on their phones or something for half an hour at their desk. And then they went back to work, and they were working, 15, 16-hour days. Actual breaks are important, and that efficient use of their time is more important than how much work they can crank out, right? When I say efficient use, I mean it as not working those 16-hour days, pushing through without breaks so that they get more done, but rather taking those breaks so that they are more focused when they're working, so that they are using their time more effectively, and so that they are not, heading towards burnout. Promote mental health. So in your company, like, address those mental health needs as part of your workplace health initiatives. Like, mental health includes our emotional, psychological, and social well-being, affecting how we think, how we feel, and our actions. It helps determine how we handle stress, how we relate to others, and making healthy choices. Now, some of the women I've spoken with in my market research calls have said that they don't usually go too deep with their team members and their personal lives, and that's okay. But knowing that we all have a personal life is key, and that our personal lives can influence how we show up at work is important as well. Regular employee engagement. So engage your employees in decision making and provide regular feedback. Help them to become actively engaged in what they're doing and in what the company's goals are. Communication is very key. One of the things, I worked with a manager in a law firm in Canada. This is when I was up in Vancouver, and she used to check in on us and go around they had I believe, 3 floors, and she would go around to each employee, each paralegal, each legal assistant, and ask us what we needed, if we needed anything, if we were doing good, how we were feeling. She checked in on us. She asked us what we needed, and that kind of opened up the dialogue to say, well, I'm working on this. I need this to be able to do that. Even trainings, like, how can I get trained on something so that I can be more efficient with my time, effectively showing up daily. So, I really like that. Great leaders know it's not about them telling us what to do, but actively engaging and asking for feedback themselves. After all, when you run a business, right, you're hiring people. I've said this before, you're hiring people so that you can build your business as a team. You're not just hiring them to just come sit in a seat and take up space. Next is like training for your team leaders, your managers, and equip them with skills to identify and support your employees experiencing presenteeism, and helping them understand how to spot when a team member needs guidance, training, and support. So one of the things I found, I'm just going to open up the article real quick here on my computer, is Udemy Business did an article for 2024 Global Learning and Skills Trends Report. And I'm just going down to the page that I found, which was quite interesting, was that companies are evolving to operate as skills-based organizations. So they're really looking at how people, not just what's on paper for when it comes to them having, like the qualifications of a degree, but actually the skills that they have they utilized, like what have they learned, what have they used, what are they really good at. And so I really find like that's really important, that they are looking at these things. They also wrote that there's a lot more companies realizing that they need to start training their team members, their employees, and they're saying 6 in 10 employees will require training before 2027. So they've identified skills gaps, and they're also identifying that it's not just about like the skills, but actually, that having leaders that are strong, right? Strong leaders, developing strong leaders within organizations. So they were saying here, leaders are embracing a new set of skills to manage how to be more of an effective leader. So they have 4 C's: connecting, creating an inclusive culture, coaching, and collaborating through technology. So they're learning how interpersonal skills and emotional skill sets, intelligence, including empathy, compassion, self-awareness. They're learning to foster, they're creating an inclusive culture and fostering an inclusive environment. So again, the leaders in the businesses are now recognizing that they need to bring the teams closer together so they work together, right? Collaboration together makes everything work better. I always say that you're only as good as your weakest link. So if somebody on your team isn't doing so well, even if you have 4 great people that are doing really well, if one person is not doing well, that's where you have the bar. That's the bar. So you've got 4 people up here and one's down here. This is where the bar is. You're not up here. You need to lift this person up with you. Even effective coaching and feedback skills. This is where leaders come in, and leveraging technology for connection and collaboration. So I really thought that was an interesting stat that they were talking about. So health and wellness initiatives, I talked a little bit about it. Offer health screenings, exercise programs, wellness education. Again, this is something I'm working on to bring to female-owned business owners who have teams of 25 or less, to help them have higher productivity, better morale, lower health insurance costs, team collaboration, team retention. Your team feels valued. You feel valued by your team because you're on the same page of building a well-oiled machine that runs efficiently because you're doing it together. It really translates to your bottom line because you're meeting those financial goals. So if I ask you this question, when you hire someone, are you looking at them as only filling the position for a short time, or to fill that position for a lifetime? Again, you may not have someone last a lifetime, but because of life changes, they might move, they might get married, they might move, They just might decide they want to change career paths. But when you create an environment where people want to come to work, they feel valued and they want to contribute, they're on the same page as the vision that you have, the mission that you have for your business, and you implement a wellness from within pillar into your business model. This will help you to hire people just like that. It will help you to vet your team members more effectively. And when people hear about what you offer, they're going to want to come work for you. So I believe every business needs to implement this so that they can combat absenteeism, presenteeism, teen turnover, burnout, to name a few things. So if you felt any of these things in your business, you're not alone, because if you have and you're wanting, if you are feeling this in your business, it's time then, it's a wake up for you to say, okay, what is going on in my business? Do I have effective communication? Are people talking to each other? Are they do I find that people are not showing up, like they seem to be checked out? Are they, disappearing, like, they fall off and you don't know, you have to go looking for them? Is their quality of work falling through the cracks? It's not just about placing blame. It's about really getting to know the people that are working for you so that you have that quality. So if you felt any of these in your business, and if you're wanting to make positive changes for the health of your business, then I definitely would suggest that you think about implementing a wellness program into your business. And if you're interested to see how I can help you, DM me and we can hop on a call and we can chat about what I have to offer and see if it's a good fit for your company. I hope you've learned something today, and I hope that your curiosity has been piqued to start looking more closely at the health of your business and to adapt that quality of life as not just for your personal life, but for your professional life as well. I hope you have an amazing rest of your day. Again, DM me to schedule a call and let's discuss how I can support your business health. I hope you have a great day, and thanks again for joining me. Bye for now.